John Spooner received a life sentence without the chance of parole, a penalty deemed appropriate by Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Jeffrey A. He committed the horrific, egregious crime of murdering a 13-year-old neighbor.
I want him to be held accountable for what he did to my son, Derry Simmons. I want him to have life in prison. He showed no remorse.
Simmons, the victim, was simply retrieving his trash can outside when Spooner shot him. Spooner suspected Simmons of stealing 4 shotguns from his home 2 days prior. When Simmons denied having the guns, and his mother threatened to involve the police, Spooner fired at Simmons's chest. He attempted to shoot him again but missed, and on the 3rd attempt, his firearm malfunctioned. Subsequently, police searched the victim's residence but found none of the missing shotguns. During his sentencing, Spooner addressed the court, expressing his frustration over the stolen guns. He also remarked on the peculiarity that his surveillance cameras captured his altercation with Simmons, but failed to identify the intruder who had broken into his home 2 days prior. It's a stark and cruel reality that he resorted to violence against a teenager over the theft of firearms.
Ms. Larry, she knew those kids were going to rob my house.
Throughout his trials, Spooner was often seen wearing a short-sleeved checkered shirt. When the judge delivered the life sentence, Spooner gazed back at him, devoid of any visible emotion. However, Spooner's lack of remorse was not confined to his demeanor in court. He openly labeled his actions as acts of revenge and justice, displaying a chilling indifference to the consequences of his heinous crime.
As far as being sorry, I don't know if I did right or wrong.
Switching our attention from John Spooner's dark deeds, let's delve into the unforgivable actions of Terrell Webster. Webster was found guilty of 2 counts of homicide and 1 count of possessing a weapon. Webster used a firearm to fatally shoot Grover Cleveland Watson Jr., aged 47, on Osage Avenue in East Price Hill in April 2012. He fired at Watson after visiting his house to do laundry, have drinks, and play cards. Watson's sister stated that the altercation began because Webster was behaving aggressively towards his pregnant girlfriend. Webster was apprehended by the police on the same day he murdered Watson, with the assistance of a specialized team known as the Southwest Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Strike Team. In court documents, Webster claimed that it was his girlfriend who shot and killed Watson. But the saga doesn't stop there. During the court proceedings, when Watson's visually impaired sister made her statement, Webster callously laughed at her. It's a heartless action to take after committing such a heinous crime. Following this, his sister confronted him, warning that once he's behind bars, he'll no longer have reason to smile as he'll become someone's target.
But the moment they get you behind those prison walls for the rest of your life, you will be somebody's girlfriend. And that smile will no longer be on your face, it will be tears.
Can you imagine a troubled adolescent who's committed a serious crime? It might seem unlikely, but consider Michael Richard Swanson, a 17-year-old from St. Louis Park. He stands accused of 2 grave offenses, first-degree murder and first-degree robbery in 2 separate locations known as Kossuth and Humboldt counties. Swanson entered the Crossroads gas station on U.S. Highway 18 in Algona. Wearing a ski mask, he demanded money and cigarettes from the 47-year-old clerk, Vicki Bowman Hall. Despite her compliance, Swanson shot her, and fatally shot 61-year-old clerk Sheila Myers, who died instantly. Swanson was driving a Jeep Grand Cherokee when he was apprehended at a McDonald's in Webster City, about 60 miles from the first shooting. The teenager confessed to deliberately shooting both clerks to prevent them from calling the police or identifying him.
I just thought it sounds like if I swear to high and go to sleep, and the next morning I'll probably be out of Iowa in like an hour or something.
Swanson received a life sentence in prison for killing Sheila Myers and Vicki Bowman Hall. However, his reaction to the verdict was disturbing. He smiled when the jury found him guilty, and the judge labeled him as evil.
You are dangerous, you are unpredictable, and there is no place for you in an open, law-abiding society.
Stating that communication with him wouldn't make a difference.
Prison for the rest of your life is the only alternative.
Furthermore, when confronted by the victims' families, he displayed no emotion.
How could killing a defenseless woman and an outright execution be powerful or fair?
Suggesting an emptiness within, despite having a heart and soul.
As he left the courtroom, Swanson smiled once again. Meyer's daughter said it was still hard to see.
Now, meet Randall Moore, a man who showed no remorse for his heinous deeds.
I have not 1 ounce of remorse for Tracy Ann's death.
In 2009, on November 11th, Moore did terrible things to his estranged wife. He kidnapped, raped, and murdered her. He also hurt a police officer named Todd Rowland when he came to help after hearing someone calling for help from the apartment where Moore and his wife used to live. Judge Novak sentenced Moore to 3 consecutive life sentences for the murder of Therese Ann Lynch. Additionally, he imposed a 25-year prison term for the shooting of Officer Rowland. Novak aimed to ensure that Moore comprehended the gravity of his offenses and the blatant disregard he displayed for the law.
Just tremendous relief that he is getting the justice that he deserves.
Thus ordering that these penalties be served consecutively. During the opportunity to speak before his sentencing, Moore spoke for over 10 minutes, attempting to justify why he killed the mother of his son. Turning to face the Lynch family seated behind him, he uttered words filled with anger and resentment.
Read the journal she wrote. She hated you. She hated you. You're a loser.
Moore felt no remorse whatsoever for what happened to Therese Ann. He asserted that if Therese Ann and her family had permitted him to see his child, the tragic events would not have occurred. Moore's words were chillingly devoid of remorse, leaving the Lynch family shocked and profoundly wounded.
What you did to my daughter, Therese Ann Marie Lynch, was evil, hateful, and despicable. You are now dead and rotting and repulsive to me.
In the end, the judge remarked that Moore had redefined the concept of evil, and that he had never encountered anyone like him.
You're cowards. You truly are cowards. You prey on women.
The judge expressed a desire to impose a harsher punishment if the law permitted it.
If anybody didn't know what a piece of work you were before you start talking, they know it now.
Get ready for a shock that'll seriously make you question the goodness in people as we uncover the dark truth behind Danta Wright's horrendous crime.
2 children escaping tragedy by a matter of inches.
Wright's looking at 23 to 50 years in the slammer for offing Clee.
You can see the 10-year-old little girl shielding her 5-year-old brother as the suspect sprays bullets, striking his 24-year-old target in the back and both legs.
He straight up confessed that he and 2 other buddies were trying to rip off 18-year-old Jordan Clee when things went south, and Clee got shot. During the whole court deal, Wright was grinning and even cracking up while the victim's family was pouring their hearts out. I mean, can you even wrap your head around that? It's like evil personified, right? The judge wasn't having any of it, though.
Watching you sit there, smile and laugh and shake your head like this was no big deal.
Seeing Wright sitting there, acting like nothing was wrong, the judge got seriously worried about the sentence being too soft.
I'm very tempted to just say, I'm not going to accept this sentence agreement. We'll go to trial.
They even warned that if Wright's found guilty of felony murder, he's looking at spending the rest of his days behind bars.
And if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life. That means you'll die there. That's what I'm tempted to do.
Wright's lawyer apologized to the teenager, attributing his behavior to emotional struggles and suggesting that some individuals express fear through smiling.
And some people display fear by smiling.
Well, still, you can't justify this behavior after committing such a horrific crime. The video comes to an end, but the fight for justice continues. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay connected for more updates.